Question 10. A bag contains X counters. 7 of those counters are blue, and Sam takes at random a counter from the bag and does not replace it. So that means we've got conditional probability here, which means whatever probability we look at for the first part, the second part is going to be affected by that. Jill then takes a counter from the bag, so Sam's taken a counter out and not replaced it. Then Jill takes a counter out, and the probability that they both take a blue counter is 0.2. Form an equation involving X and show that it ends up being this. So, show question, you're not expected to see where that comes from right now. All we need to focus on at the minute is the information that's given in what I've underlined in green, which is the probability that they both take a blue counter is 0.2. So that means that we're going to have the probability of Sam taking a blue counter, and then we have the probability of Jill taking a blue counter after Sam has taken a blue counter, which is key with this after, with the fact that we're dealing with conditional probability. So the probability of both of these happening with an AND gives us 0.2 as our answer. And in probability, or both of them, will involve a multiple. So we're going to have a multiple of these two probabilities gives us a 0.2. And then it's a case of trying to figure out what the probability of each of these is. So we have X counters in total, which means I can put this first fraction over X. There are 7 counters that are blue, which means the probability that Sam taking that blue counter is 7 over X. Because it's not been replaced, that means that we're going to have 1 less counter in total. So we'll have X minus 1 on the bottom, and we will also have 1 less blue counter. So we'll have 1 taken away from 7. Now, of course, we can simplify this down now. We're going to end up with a 7 times 6 on the top here. We've got an X and an X minus 1 on the bottom, and that equals 0.2. How you go about here, however many steps you want to take, is entirely up to yourself. If I multiply top times top, we get 42. The bottom, although I'm multiplying them together, I'm just going to write them like this, first of all. And then we do not want letters in the bottom of a fraction, so I'm going to multiply both sides by that, giving me the following. So I'll have 0.2x bracket x minus 1. At this point now, or in the previous step, we could multiply both sides by 5 to get rid of that decimal if you want. I think most people would probably break this out, so I'm just going to go ahead and do that. There's no right or wrong way for taking all the steps here. You do whatever's comfortable with you. As long as you get this answer, I hid here for a reason, just so it didn't distract us. As long as we get this answer at the end, we know we're right. And we get that now by doing 2 things. One, we're going to take away that 42 to get it on the same side as everything else, because what we're being asked to show has an equal 0. And then lastly, if we want to turn a 0.2x squared into a single x squared, we're going to times everything by 5. And by doing that, we end up with x squared minus x, and there's our minus 210. That's part A. Part B, we're being asked to calculate the value of x, which means that we are going to be solving the equation that we were given in part A. So this equation here. So we're going to solve x squared minus x minus 210 equals 0. This can factorize quite nicely. If we look at the factors of 210, negative 210 even, that differ by 1, we can get, or differ by minus 1, the numbers 14 and minus 15 work nicely. So this factorizes to give us an x plus 14 and an x minus 15. Now, if your factorizing is not as strong as that, my recommendation would be to practice it so it does become as strong as that. But you could also use the quadratic formula as well. As long as you've showed your workings, you're good to go. Setting each of these brackets equals to 0 now was the whole point in us factorizing in the first place, and us having it equal to 0 as well here. And then we rearrange both of these to get x is negative 14 or x is 15 as our answer. Now, given this question's involving probability and the number of counters in the bag, we cannot have a negative number of counters in this bag. So we ignore that x equals minus 14 and we just write 15. Clue in the question as to why we're only going to have one answer is written there in the question. Calculate the value of x, no plural. Either way, x is 15, we are done.